So I love looking for neighborhoods that are off the beaten path, but in the middle of town, so you can get the best access to stuff to do and also the quiet and relaxed feel in your house. And so in this video, we're going to be talking about a neighborhood that I think is often overlooked and underrated. It's one of the best in the area. I should be putting more emphasis on it, but I haven't. It's called Thalia. I'll talk about why I love this neighborhood. I'll show you what's around here. I'll show you why it's one of the best spots to live in the city. And what I'll also do is tell you some of my favorite restaurants around Thalia, because there are a few I think that are very worth checking out. And one that's weird, and I want to see what you think about it. We'll talk about all the things to do around here, the shopping, the school districts, everything about Thalia. So by the time this video is over, you will know everything you need to know about living in Thalia. And I'll also bring up the reasons why I don't like Thalia, because as you know, I love trying to balance out the pros and cons of everything I talk about. So we're going to be bringing up some things I don't like about it, so you can get a balanced perspective about what's really going on. So if you look on the map, I'll show you first where Thalia is. And now if you look on Virginia Beach, you zoom out, you see Virginia Beach right here. I talk a lot about the central part of Virginia Beach, all through Little Neck, even towards Great Neck, and the south central part near Windsor Woods, going down towards Salem and all that. And of course, Town Center, which is right near the center, the town center of Virginia Beach. But just to the east of Town Center is this area right here. I'm going to change the satellite view. You see this big green, like dark area here? That is the majority of what is considered Thalia, which is one of the reasons why I like Thalia. If you zoom in, see you got a lot of water access on the sides. Well, I love it. I love it. So, because if you're in neighborhoods, you can come right out and you're right close to Town Center. So it's very close to Route 58, which is Virginia Beach Boulevard. It's also very close to the Independence Boulevard exits towards 264, which can take you towards the beach, also take you towards Norfolk. It's also close to a ton of shopping up and down Independence Boulevard, and also, of course, Virginia Beach Boulevard. You are in the center of the action. But because if you see, again, the covered area, that green area, you are also in the middle of woods, it feels like. So it's a great balance between both access to the shopping and essentials, as well as being in the seclusion of what feels like a forest. So because you're close to Virginia Beach Boulevard, you're like 16, 17 minutes away from the beach. You can get to the beach that quickly. You're also about 20-ish minutes away from downtown Norfolk, maybe even less than that if you get the right stoplights. You're literally 5 minutes or less away from Town Center. You're within 10 minutes or less away from multiple shopping areas, major grocery stores like Wegmans. I want to talk about the real estate in Thalia. Well, okay, what's here? Get a lay of the land. Okay, so if you look at the map, you'll see that there are different little sections of Thalia. So Thalia, I kind of see it like a four-fingered baseball glove. So you got the thumb right here, you got the index finger right here, and you've got the middle finger right here, and of course the ring finger right here. Now you could break it up and say, well, there's a pinky here somewhere. Technically, I'd say the pinky's over here, but that's not Thalia. That's over in Birchwood Gardens, which I've talked about before. Now zooming out, you'll see that there are different neighborhoods within Thalia. The first one is the thumb, which is Thalia Acres, which goes up all the way to Thalia Point, which is an amazing little section we'll talk about a little bit later. Then there's the index finger and middle finger. Those blend into what was Thalia Acres into Thalia Gardens. This is all kind of Thalia Gardens right here. Then going towards the ring finger, this is Thalia Shores, and similar types of vibes in all of these parts as you go further north into Thalia. Then there's also Thalia Manor, which is closest to Virginia Beach Boulevard. Now Thalia itself kind of ends right where Thalia Shores is, and connects to Thalia Drive up towards the top part here. As you cross over into over towards Honey Tree Lane here, this will go over into the rest of, like we say, Birchwood Gardens and other neighborhoods. But these areas have different feels to them and different types of houses. Generally speaking, you'll find that in Thalia Acres, Gardens, and Manor, the houses are close enough to where you don't really see too much of a difference. And you'll also find some newer houses like 2015, 2020, some newish construction scattered through, but there aren't too many of these. Most of the houses in either Thalia Acres, Gardens, or Shores are going to be anywhere from like the 1,500 square foot range to like the 3,000 square foot range. You will see some differences, some variance going above that 4,000 and up, especially as you go in on the water. Got a lot of brick ranches. You got some two-story too, but a lot of these built in the 50s and the 60s, a majority of this whole north section of Thalia. And this whole part of Thalia is known by the tall pine trees that you see as you drive through the neighborhood. And it's all through from the east side to the west side on the water, more inland, you are surrounded by pine trees, amazing coverage of foliage. But these neighborhoods are known for their lot sizes, their tree coverage. It feels very functionally unkept or sophisticated, if you will, combined with the messiness that you get with a bunch of trees, like no HOA, and no sidewalks, which is a common thread you'll see in Thalia as well, which there aren't any sidewalks. In addition to that, you've got narrow streets. So you've got a very quiet neighborhood. It's almost like Little Neck, where it's like a cul-de-sac. You drive in, you're not going to have any reason to go through unless you live in the area. But on the flip side, you got narrow streets, and also it feels kind of messy. So you'll find that on the main roads, people will drive a bit faster, like especially Thalia Road. That road, if you live on Thalia Road, it might feel a bit different than you would if you live off of Thalia Road. And same goes with Edinburgh Drive and Thalia Drive to a certain degree, as those are connecting roads to the rest of Thalia or even into Little Neck. So another thing you'll notice here is that there is a lot of water access. It is, to me, one of the best values for water access anywhere in Virginia Beach. And Virginia Beach can have some very expensive water access. Water access in Thalia can be anywhere from as low as the 600 range, which sounds crazy to even think. You can get a place that can put a dock in Virginia Beach for around $600,000, going up to $1 to $2+ million. Now, why is that? Well, I think one of the reasons is because this water access, while it's deep water access, it is the farthest, or some of the farthest away from the Lynnhaven Inlet and the Chesapeake Bay and the Lynnhaven River that there really is. These are all fingers of the Lynnhaven River, but they're the furthest away from the rest of, like, if you can take a boat up to the Lynnhaven Inlet, up towards Chicks Beach, for example, but it's going to take you a while. It's the furthest away from the rest of Virginia Beach. In addition to that, there are some spots that do have some really nice water views, but some of them aren't as widespread. The water isn't as far across as other parts of Virginia Beach, and you'll eventually see houses a lot closer to you across those water points. But as you get cheaper, you're still getting water access. This is still a pretty big deal at $600,000, $700,000, $800,000. Now, the price range in Thalia Acres and Shores and Gardens are all anywhere starting in the $600,000 and $700,000 price range, going up into the $1 to $2 million or more on the water. But again, remember, you can get water access in here in the 6s and 7s. It's not unheard of. You'll even find in the 550 range, 575 range, a few that might pop up that might be dated, that might be on the main road, on like Thalia Road, for example. So if you want to be in the northern Thalia area in any of these parts, you could find one in here a bit cheaper, and especially if you can find one even smaller, like 1,500 square feet or less. And another thing you'll see in here too is a lot of small little cul-de-sacs that kind of jet out of the main roads, and this is kind of the staple of what makes the North Thalia areas so quiet, is because there are so many cul-de-sacs, and again, you don't really have any reason to go into any of these little fingers unless you live there, most likely, or you're lost. Now, there are some other parts of Thalia I want to mention too that are completely different to this part of Thalia. So when you hear the word Thalia, you got to know what that means and what people are talking about. So as you go further south towards Virginia Beach Boulevard, you get closer to some townhouses. Thalia Wayside, which is right behind a shopping center called Loman's Plaza and the Central Library. So behind there is Thalia Wayside. These are townhouses, and for the price, I think they're solid. I think around $325, $315, $330. No HOA, and an easy access out onto Virginia Beach Boulevard, like one road, and you're right there. Then, as we go further south, that's where it gets into the weird part of Thalia. Thalia Village is one area I'm talking about, and as you go down Thalia Road, coming out of the north part of Thalia, cross over the boulevard, now you're into a really weird, shotgun house, narrow lot area that feels completely different than the rest of Thalia that we've been talking about. And this area has still some older houses, 50s and 60s, but you'll find also some areas where builders have built houses in the last 5-10 years that were previously vacant lots. And so you'll find small, narrow houses like 2,000 square feet, in the 400-ish, 425 range. So if you want a newer house and don't mind a smaller lot, this might be a good option if you want to live in the Thalia area. And it's also the same convenience to get out into the rest of the city. The drawback is it just feels like a whole different type of neighborhood than it is in the north part of Thalia. But if you do live in Thalia Village, I mentioned before in another video about the city putting in a bike path that connects all the way from the oceanfront, all the way to the oceanfront, to the Norfolk connection at the light rail in Norfolk, which is in Newtown Road right here. So my point is to say that if you live in Thalia Village, you are right next to where that path is going to be built. So that's another benefit to living there. It might not be as big of a reason to be that close. You could also still use the bike path if you don't live in Thalia Village, but it's just a nice little benefit to be that close to it, as well as being that close to a town center. Because one of the other benefits to living in Thalia Village is that you come off of any of the main roads there and come out on Bonnie Road. Bonnie Road's a sneaky road because it connects to the back door cut in to town center, which is Constitution Drive right here. Take this all the way into town center. You can take the back way in and be there in like 5-6 minutes. But now we'll talk about Thalia Manor. Now, Thalia Manor is different than Thalia Acres, Shores, and Gardens, and also different than Thalia Village and Wayside, in that it is more like a kind of a basic neighborhood. You get 3-4 bedroom houses, 1,600, 2,200 square foot range. You'll find some a little bit bigger, but that's the main range. And then upper three is like 380 into even as high as 525 to 550. And in very unique specific spots, you might go into the 6s and 7s, but most of them are going to be anywhere from 4 to 5 for the most part. These are also built in the 50s and 60s, similar to most of the other parts of Thalia. You're not going to necessarily get a huge lot like you get in Thalia Shores, Gardens, or Acres. You're not going to get a small one though compared to like Thalia Village. You're going to get a pretty nice basic neighborhood, pretty basic lot. Nothing usually that much larger than what you'd expect in any kind of a standard lot size in Virginia Beach. You also won't have as much tree coverage as you would in Thalia Acres, Gardens, or Shores, but you still have some. So it feels like an established neighborhood, but it doesn't feel as established or as foresty to me as you would feel as you get into the northern parts of Thalia. And as you drive from the north part of Thalia down to the south part where Thalia Manor is, you will see it change pretty quickly. You'll see it going from super heavy tree coverage. It'll feel a lot more sparse as you go into Thalia Manor. Part of that reason is because the lots are smaller. Trees are getting cut down for that reason, but it doesn't feel super sparse. There are other neighborhoods that have a whole lot less tree coverage than Thalia Manor, so I do think there's a nice balance here. It's also very similar to a neighborhood next to it, like I mentioned, called Birchwood Gardens, which is just to the east, and it almost feels the same to me. I think I like Thalia Manor better. It just feels a little bit more established. Now, one more spot I want to mention that is really cool in Thalia is it's not really a big neighborhood. It's even past Steinholders, past all the other parts of Thalia, and the very, very tippy top is Thalia Island. There are not too many houses in Thalia Island. I believe there are only like 8. As you zoom into the north part of Thalia, in Thalia Point, you will turn and go across from the main part of Thalia into this small little island that has several houses on it. All of them have magnificent water views. A lot of them are panoramic or 180 degrees and super secluded. It is picturesque. If you have a house back here, you are in some of the prime real estate in Virginia Beach, but you're on the water. But also keep in mind, you can take a boat from there up to Chesapeake Bay pretty easily compared to what you might pay going up to the north part of like Little Neck or up towards Great Neck. It's a much cheaper idea, like $2 million, 1.5, 2.5, maybe more than that. But instead of 4 or 5, even close to Bay Colony and places like that, if I can call it a value, I'd say it's a value for water access, this type of water access in Virginia Beach. Now, another thing about Thalia is you can go all the way across to the end of Little Neck and not have to go up to the main road. So you see Edinburgh Drive right here. There's Thalia Drive too that connects a long way, but these roads connect. You can take Edinburgh all the way through Thalia Manor, all the way through Birchwood Gardens, all the way into Malibu, through Malibu, into the south part of Kings Grant, all the way through Kings Grant, over to the far east side of Kings Grant, down closer to Hobby Lobby near North Lynnhaven Road, which takes you over to the rest of Virginia Beach Boulevard near Lynnhaven Parkway. So you can drive a long way down through the neighborhood and not ever have to go down a primary road or a super busy highway. That's pretty fun too. You can go do long bike rides, even walks. It can be busy, but you can take some back roads and have a fun go of it because there's so many roads you can go in and out through and make unique routes and not have to go onto any of these major busy roads if you don't want to. Another benefit to living in Thalia, especially on the water, is that if you live on water access, very, very good chance you will not need flood insurance in 2024. This is a big deal too. A lot of the lots are risen off of the shoreline enough to where you don't have flood insurance issues. Now, there are some spots as you get closer to the water, your lot might end up being in a high-risk flood zone as you get down near the shore. It's kind of typical, but a lot of the houses are built off the water in a way that you're not really going to have too many issues with flood insurance in most of the neighborhood. Still definitely check and make sure you do your research to make sure that every house that you do look at requires it or doesn't. But generally speaking, it's not as big of a concern as other parts of Hampton Roads area. A couple other things worth mentioning for things to do in Thalia. There's a local park, Thalia Park, which is behind New Life Town Center. So there's a parking on the side of the church. The park is behind the church. So this whole big tree covered area here, it's more designed for little kids, but a nice little park you can get to from Thalia. And also, I didn't even know this until recently. My friend Chris and I biked through the area, and he showed me, took a turn back off of Thalia Road. This road right here leads you to the Thalia Creek Kayak Launch, which juts out into Thalia Creek, which again, you can take the kayak, go as long as you want, all the way up to the Chesapeake Bay and Chicks Beach and Lynnhaven Inlet, all of that from that little nook right off of Thalia, the Thalia Creek Kayak Launch. So I think it's even an additional nice benefit. If you don't have water access in your house or on your lot, you can take the kayak, head over to the kayak launch, and have at it. Now, shopping. What about this area makes it so appealing? Part of it is because of the shopping access, and I've mentioned this before, but you got Town Center, which is right here. So 5-6 minutes away, you're at Town Center. You're almost like in the backyard of Town Center. You're also up and down Virginia Beach Boulevard, many shopping centers. You've got Birchwood Shopping Center. You've got Lemons Plaza. Further down, you've got more closer to Sam's Club. You've got the Harris Teeter over here, closer to Little Neck. You got Home Depot. You got Kroger. You're going to find essentials, grocery stores, great restaurants up and down Route 58, Virginia Beach Boulevard, every like half a mile or so, or even less. It's just strip malls upon strip malls, which can be kind of tiring because you feel like, is this going to change? It does a little bit, but it feels like a bunch of strip malls over and over again. But you will have your essentials met. Wegmans over on the side near Town Center. Walmart's over there. You got Town Center itself. Target is right next to Town Center. Going up Independence Boulevard, more shopping centers, more grocery stores. Harris Teeter up there. More restaurants up and down Independence and also Virginia Beach Boulevard. Within anywhere from 3 or 4 minutes up to 10 or 15 minutes, going to have a ton of stuff. One of the cool restaurants I do think that's worth mentioning in Thalia that is, you don't really see this anywhere else, is Steinhilber's. Steinhilber's is in the back corner of Thalia, and it's in the neighborhood. So if you're in Thalia, you don't realize you're next to a restaurant. You drive through the neighborhood, and eventually you see less and less houses, and all of a sudden this area opens up into a parking lot and a nice restaurant on the water and nice panoramic views. Other restaurants worth mentioning. As you come out of Thalia, Hair of the Dog Eatery, which is in Loman's Plaza. Very good hamburgers. Very good juice bar, Gin and Juice, which is also in the same Loman's Plaza. Going across the street, Chili's. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not a big I was joking. I don't like Chili's. But coming down further into Thalia Village or near it is Azar's. I do like Azar's a lot. But you know what? A very good Mexican place I just found out recently have very, very good burritos, which is off of Bonnie Road in Thalia, which is called Grande Burrito Grill. That one, I love their burritos. A little expensive, so if you want like something for lunch, it's a little high, but it's a big one. If you want Town Center, there's a lot more chains in Town Center, but I do like Tupelo Honey. I think that's one of my favorites in Town Center right here. Now, if you do choose to live in Thalia, or even if you don't, if you just live in Virginia Beach and you're adventurous, Gus and George's Spaghetti and Steak. Okay, I've never been here before. It's a restaurant. Even I talked to my wife about it. I don't even think we'll go because I think our choice in restaurants might be different enough to where I don't think we'll end up going here. But steak and spaghetti sounds crazy weird, but I've heard that it's actually very good. If you do choose to go, please comment and let me know what you think about it. If you're watching this and you have been there before, let me know what it's like. But if you do plan to move here, try it out. Just know that I'm not telling you it's really good. I've heard it's pretty good, but it just seems so ridiculous and crazy different than anything else I've heard of. I just want to try it and see. Now, school districts. Now, anywhere for the most part in Thalia, you'll be in Princess Anne High School District, which is right next to Thalia, for goodness sakes. You come out of Thalia Road, Princess Anne High School is right there. Then Independence Middle School and Thalia Elementary School. And Thalia Elementary School is also on Thalia Road as you drive down closer to Virginia Beach Boulevard. So your school access is very, very close and convenient. Now, the drawbacks to living in Thalia. Okay. The main thing is, I think the roads, they're narrow. So it's hard to walk up and down the main roads because you got these narrow roads and no sidewalks. Number two is a lot of these houses are older. So if you don't want older houses, it's going to be hard to find a house that you might like if you want like a 2000 or 2020 or even new construction. I know someone that bought a house in Thalia Island to knock it down and build a new house on it because there aren't any spots like it to build houses on it. So it's that kind of thing. It's hard to find newer houses or opportunities to build houses in Thalia or anywhere in at least this part of Virginia Beach. The other drawback would be the price. You're starting in the 5s and 6s mostly, even unless you go Thalia Manor or Thalia Village and go into the 4s and maybe a little bit less than that. But mostly you're gonna be paying a little bit more than you might pay in other parts of Virginia Beach for something similar. But you're gonna get, I think, a lot of unique value in Thalia. So I do think, well, it's the drawback. I can justify the drawback if you do want what Thalia has. So honestly, I mean, I keep trying to find the other drawbacks. I think the main thing is really just the crampedness of the roads and how it feels as you drive through. It feels nice if you drive slow and you're not in a rush, but if you're in a rush and if you're walking or trying to commute, it can be frustrating because there are people that will go speed down the main roads and make it a bit more uncomfortable. So that kind of thing, if you do have kids, living on those main roads might not be as ideal as living off of the main roads. So if you like Thalia like I do, if you're interested in Thalia or you want to move or relocate to anywhere in Virginia Beach through Williamsburg, let me know. This is what I do. I love helping people relocate to the area. So if you have any questions, I have my contact information in the description. You can call me, email me, text me, and I'll do whatever I can to help you relocate to the area. And I will see you on the next video.